I.8, letter dated November 5, 2020 of the City Budget Officer with respect to the fiscal year 2021 executive budget of the City Government of Zamboanga, which was submitted to the Sangguniang last September 28, 2020 for the authorization of the same by the August body with manifestations and among others, seeking the intervention of the City Vice Mayor to help facilitate the prompt approval of the city's fiscal year 2021 executive budget in order to address the concerns of all 98 barangays and to ensure the city's operations will not be disrupted in the fiscal year 2021 as the city continue to define and enhance its services to the public, most especially in these trying times. Mr. Chair, may we recognize our City Budget Officer?
Yes, we'd like to recognize Ma'am Geraldine de la Paz to explain the contents of her letter for clarification.
To the Honorable Chair, Vice Mayor Romel Agan, all the respectable members of this august body, fellow colleagues in the government service, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant morning to all. First and foremost, Your Honor, I'd like to thank His Honorable Chair for this opportunity accorded to me to speak in behalf of the city government before this august body for his swift action on my humble appeal. I'm speaking not only as a City Budget Officer, Your Honor, but as the chairperson of the Local Finance Committee who, under the law, together with all the members of the Local Finance Committee, is expected to assist the SP members in the objective review and evaluation of the proposed budgetary programs that the city government envisions to provide for its people in the ensuing year. And by implication of the law, we are also to apprise this august body as to the effects or consequences of its inaction or whatever action, that course of action that it may deem fit. Your Honor, do I have to read my letter, Your Honor?
I think
or let me just
are all the
emphasize.
members furnished with copies already? Just highlight the
Okay.
the main points.
Your Honor, I felt the need to seek your honors and of course of equal importance that of all the members of this august body, their utmost consideration to treat this budget as a priority measure, to treat this budget with urgency, because any inaction or delayed action thereof would somehow be tantamount to a roadblock to the social, economic, and health programs that the city government envisions to provide for its people, for our people, especially in these most trying times. Your Honor, in my letter, I emphasize 4 concerns. If you may recall, in our 2021 executive budget, we provided around 39.69 million appropriation that is intended to provide the 405,000 annual subsidy to all the 98 barangays. In fact, this has been increased from 255,000 to 405,000 with the hope that this increase would somehow assist our barangays in their COVID-related activities, especially that of their barangay health response emergency teams or the BHERTs. This may not be significant, Your Honor, but for others, for other barangays with meager resources, this is really of great help. Any delay of our APRO ordinance would somehow cause the delay in their preparation of the budget. Why? Because this subsidy is treated as an additional source of funds in their barangay budgets. To the effect, Your Honor, if the barangay budgets will be delayed, the SK budgets will be delayed as well. I believe our SP member, Councilor Piok, can attest to this based on our experience, because any delay in the barangay budgets would always cause the delay in the preparation of the SK budgets. That is one first concern, Your Honor, and I'd like to apprise the body that the barangays are also LGUs operations at the beginning of the fiscal year, Your Honor. People will never understand if and when OCNR, for example, would not be able to do its mandate with respect to garbage collection simply because we have no fuel procured. Most will never understand the complexities of the procurement process, but we in the government know for a fact that any delay in the procurement process would mean delay in the delivery of the basic services. That is the very reason why even the law, as provided under the procurement law, allows the early procurement activities for all government agencies to ensure that at the beginning of the fiscal year or ensuing year, we have all the needed essential requirements such as the office supplies, the fuel, the drugs and medicines, even our security service or janitor services, Your Honor, are available at the beginning of the fiscal year. But this we cannot do if the appropriations ordinance is not yet enacted or approved. Consequently, the possibility of the continuous delivery of the basic services at the beginning of the year may be disrupted. My third point, Your Honor, let me remind the body that under the Local Government Code, DBM has around 90 days within which to review our APRO ordinance. Basically, the review action would establish whether our APRO ordinance is compliant with all the budgetary requirements, limitations, and other provisions of the applicable laws. Your Honor, that is the very reason why the Executive Department submits the budget to SP as early as September to give you ample time to conduct at least an objective review and evaluation of this budget and hopefully to enact the appropriations ordinance the soonest possible time. It is best that we are able to secure DBM review action before the ensuing year or just at the beginning of the ensuing year. So to give us, it is a safeguard, an assurance that all disbursements that the city will be making are in accordance with law and will not later be disallowed nor declared inoperative by DBM or COA. Because, Your Honor, sometimes, Your Honor, in the exigency of service, we all know for a fact that it is the Executive Department that makes the bolder steps to be able to address the concerns and needs of our people. And at the end of the day, it is us who respond or who have to justify to a series of, if ever there will be possible AOMs from COA or other oversight agencies. I hope this body will consider this matter, Your Honor. And lastly, Your Honor, let me just read with respect to the documents or reports requested from the concerned departments during the public hearing, or rather budget hearing. Please be informed that the needed pertinent data to enable the August body and the Committee on Appropriations to carry out a more objective review of the fiscal year executive budget and analysis of the proposed expenditure programs were already made available. Again, the Local Finance Committee and the department heads we made ourselves available during this 5 days marathon budget hearing so as to assist this August body in the objective review of the budget. And Your Honor, that would be all. I do hope that we find in our hearts that this executive budget is not just a fiscal plan, Your Honor, but more of our roadmap to health and economic recovery, Your Honor. That would be all, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. Just a question.
Yes, sir.
With respect to the review action of DBM, if it comes in 2021, let's say later part of January, are we limited in our use of the 2021 budget while waiting for the review letter from DBM 9?
Not necessarily, Your Honor, as long as the appropriations ordinance is enacted before the start of the fiscal ensuing year, the APRO ordinance becomes effective at the beginning of the year. However, the review action from the DBM is important because it gives us an assurance that what the city will be spending or disbursing are in accordance, are in compliance with the budgetary laws or with budgetary requirements, Your Honor.
Thank you.
And we don't want that later these disbursements will be disallowed or declared inoperative by the DBM, or worse, the APRO ordinance is declared inoperative in toto, to the effect that we will be operating under a reenacted budget.
Any other member who wishes to propound questions to our guest? Yes, Member Jimenez.
Hi, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, distinguished colleagues. You know, I started the morning by asking for a silent prayer for Jot, Attorney Kimelago, because he is confined in the hospital, doing well because of COVID. And I realized that this appropriation ordinance for 2021 is really a pandemic proposed ordinance. The presentation made by the city budget officer is, to my mind, well taken. The presentations made not only, I would say, the urgency, but rather this august body has to act already on the proposed budget ordinance for next year. If we see the activities conducted, the last committee hearing that the committees on appropriation and committee on ordinance conducted its committee hearing, joint committee hearing, please correct me if I'm wrong, was on October 27, 2020. And if we count it up to today, it's already almost 14 days. 8, 29, 30, 31, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. About 14 days from October 27. I recall when the last committee hearing on the 27th, I rose and addressed the committee whether a report is to be made by the committee and when, and whether we have adjourned on that culmination of when we had the presence of all the department heads here. And I remember the distinguished John Delipe said that we are just on a recess. If the joint committee is on a recess, then when shall we terminate the joint committee hearing? We believe, Mr. Chairman, that the concerns of the distinguished members like members Balesco, BP Elago, Member Piok, on that Siembra Vida Ayuda was addressed, and their concern or emotion was considered now to be part of the program in the Siembra Ayuda. When the distinguished member Gingona presented also his concern on the, what's that be the program, addressing the concern of the small business, that was also agreed and practically approved. That insofar as that concern, that will be addressed and ultimately approved by the body. If the department heads have submitted, as made mention by the distinguished budget officer, that the documents required in relation to what was requested during the conduct of the public hearings were already submitted, I don't see any further delay that we should incur in approving already this appropriation ordinance for next year. There are limitations that we have to face, as cited by the distinguished budget officer. And I'm very much concerned about that 90-day review period of the DVM. I would like to ask the budget officer now whether any barangay in the city of the 98 barangays, whether a barangay, any one of the 98 barangays, have already submitted their proposed budget for next year, because they are supposed to submit it already. But if that subsidy that we provided in the appropriation ordinance, proposed appropriation ordinance, is to be considered a source and to be included in the budget, that's very clear. No barangay would be able to submit their proposed budget also for next year, simply because they are awaiting, as they know, the subsidy that we will be extending to them. So the budget office would confirm that as of today, there is no barangay. No barangay would just...
That is right, Your Honor. And not one was able to meet the deadline. Not one was able to submit the annual budget, barangay annual budget. But several barangays were already made inquiries in our office whether or not they can already include the 405,000 subsidy, Your Honor. Actually, even the current 250,000 cannot also be considered as additional source of funds, because there is no legal basis, Your Honor, because the APRO ordinance has not yet been enacted.
The request of some members of documents that has to be submitted by departments in relation to matters raised during the executive session. May we know from the budget officer whether this was complied already by the respective department heads?
Your Honor, I believe with respect to all the documents, reports that have bearing, that would help assist the SP members to carry out an objective review of the executive budget for the fiscal year 2021 were already submitted to this body, Your Honor. Also, Your Honor, I'm bringing with me a letter that I will submit to this August body, informing that all the requested PPAs, no programs or funding requests discussed during budget deliberation, like the 20 million request from Councilor BG Gingona for our MSMEs will be incorporated in our Ayuda La Vida program. With respect to the request of Councilor VP Elago, amounting to 20 million for the product design and development, this can be accommodated in our 50 million Siembra Vida program. And with respect to the requests of Councilor Valesco for the provision of face masks and vitamin C for our frontliners and government workers and other vulnerable sectors. This can be accommodated under the city health appropriation for drugs and medicines and other supplies. Also, Your Honor, with respect to the request of Councilor Alavar for the construction rehab of bridge, this can be accommodated under our lump sum APRO amounting to 27 million, and that of Councilor Kaimer Olaso for the rehab or construction of slope protection and drainage systems. The same can be accommodated in our lump sum appropriation. And lastly, Your Honor, with respect to the request of Councilor Piok for the construction of local youth development center, the same can be accommodated under our lump sum appro. Yes, sir.
Yes. I see the chairman of the committee on appropriation standing, Mr. Chairman. In the meantime, I'll yield to the distinguished chairman.
Member de la Cruz is recognized.
I would like to correct the wrong impressions of our budget officer. She claims that all the division heads have submitted the reports. That is false. Until now, from the CDRMO and the City Health, they have acknowledged that they have not sent the report yet. And you know, we give millions, hundreds of millions of pesos, and we would like to know. It is not also true that we have caused the delay of the budget hearing. You still remember the month of September, there was a gag order. The gag order was only lifted October. In spite of my health predicaments, I have reached out, and I will continue to reach out. But we have to be honest. If you are serious that we really tackle this, then we fulfill the requirements here. I'll read the contents of my latest follow-up letter. Dr. Amor D. Marabiti, City Health Officer, Dr. Arpolinario, City Disaster and Risk Reduction Management Officer. The Committee on Appropriations of the Sangguniang Panlunsod, this city, is hereby requesting the offices of the City Health and City Disaster Office Risk Reduction Management for the submission of the following documents: Lagobida Program, purchase orders, purchase, vouchers, masters of recipients, inventory of medicines, drug supplies for the fiscal year 2019-2020. CHOs, medicine, drug supplies, purchase orders, vouchers, master list of end users, inventory of medicines, drug supplies for the fiscal year 2019 and 20. CDRMO, welfare goods, medical supplies and equipments, and other equipments, medicine, drugs and supplies, purchase orders, vouchers, inventory of supplies for the fiscal year 2019 and 20. The aforementioned documents were requested during the budget hearings, and the offices concerned promised to submit all requested documents to the committee. These documents form vital part of the budget deliberations, and further delay of submission may prompt the speedy budget passage. The undersigned earnestly and humbly is reminding the aforementioned offices to immediately submit the requested documents. I am requesting the budget officer just to be honest. If they have submitted reports, well and good. But wala pa. Nanay ko. Magmatino tayo dito. Hindi tayo magsinungalangin. No? We have to tell the truth.
Your Honor, I'm sorry if that was the impression. But again, if you may recall, I mentioned that a while ago when I was asked if the department heads were able to submit the necessary reports. My statement was, I believe that with respect to the reports that have bearing to assist the SP members in the objective review of the executive budget, I believe they have already submitted. What the other documents that are being requested by this committee, Your Honor, are per se existing contracts or prior years contracts, which I will leave it up to the body if the same will assist you or have bearing in this proposed expenditure programs for the ensuing year 2021. I'm sorry, Your Honor, if that was the impression, but again, I never mentioned that they have already submitted all the reports, except only, even in my letter, I've stated that only the reports that have bearing, that have in connection with the proposed expenditure programs were submitted, because under the budget operations manual, the budget deliberation, Your Honor, is actually confined, although with all due respect, we attended the 5 days marathon hearing, but under the budget operations manual, Your Honor, the deliberation actually per se is on the targets or the estimated income and the proposed expenditures submitted by the department heads, Your Honor. That's all, Your Honor.
Since I still have the floor, Mr. Chairman, Member De La Cruz was mentioning that the budget officer should tell the truth or what. And the budget officer is of the position, I think the position of the budget officer, that insofar as the requested documents are concerned, that has bearing to the approval of the 2021 proposed budget were already submitted. And knowing we are aware, I think the distinguished floor leader who has been presiding on this joint committee hearing. This joint committee hearing has not